This is part 2 of our Investing Fundamentals and Strategies presentation, brought to you by Realty Biz Consulting. I'm Donna S. Robinson, the director, and in this segment we are discussing real estate investing strategies. Basically, there's 3 things that you can do with a piece of real estate. You can buy it, you can sell it, you can hold it. Everything with strategies relates to essentially those 3 things. Common investing strategies are real estate wholesaling, which I prefer the term wholesaling. It's also known to many people as flipping or quick cash turn real estate strategy. Then retailing, which is really the traditional side of the market, the selling of a property at full value, normally done by real estate agents, or most commonly done by agents, but also a great strategy for real estate investors who are providing housing to owner-occupants. Rental property, of course, which is probably the best known of all real estate investing strategies. Short sales, which are basically a strategy for forcing a discounted price on a property, so that you in essence create equity in a property that doesn't have any equity. Lease with an option to buy, where you're selling to a tenant who rents the house, and then you have an option, the tenant has an option to buy the house within a certain period of time at a given price. And then of course one of the hotter strategies on hot topics that we're currently seeing out there in the marketplace, buying REO properties from banks. REO means real estate owned, and that is simply an internal industry term for the properties that are owned by a given bank. A mix of strategies is common. One of the reasons that strategy courses can be confusing when you're new to real estate investing is because you typically will have one type of strategy to buy. For example, short sales are typically a buying strategy. Although for a homeowner who's nearing foreclosure, a short sale can also be a selling strategy. A holding strategy would be rental property. That's where you purchase the property with the intention of holding it long term, and so you rent it out to a tenant. Another strategy is to sell, would be retailing, flipping or wholesaling, where you do a quick sale, buy low, sell high, so to speak. Or seller financing, which is just a basic way to sell a house that might, for some reason, be difficult to sell otherwise. One of the keys here that I like to emphasize in my courses is that the market fundamentals and the property fundamentals always control the choice of strategy. Strategy is dictated by fundamentals that are controlling the situation. If you haven't seen the fundamentals videos yet, I do recommend that you check those out, because it's ultimately the fundamentals that control. Fundamentals are things about the property, about a given situation, a given real estate market. The fundamentals are the things that you can't change about that market or about that property, such as location and condition, for example, that you must deal with when dealing with that property, when trying to evaluate that property and determine what type of opportunity is available there for investment. Mastering the fundamentals gives you control of the game. This is very similar to the concept you hear in sports, where there's a lot of emphasis on mastering the fundamentals of a given sport. That's because if you don't master the fundamentals, you can't play the game effectively. The same thing is true with real estate, and real estate investing in particular. One of the most common strategies that everybody's familiar with is the idea of no cash, no credit, and that's usually wholesaling, also known as flipping. One of the reasons that's a popular strategy is because it appeals, of course, to everybody that is challenged by the lack of cash or possibly bad credit. Fundamentally, wholesaling requires lots of equity, and for those who may not know, equity is the value of the property minus the debt owed on that property. So for example, if a property has a $100,000 value and it has $65,000 of debt against that property, there is $35,000 worth of equity in that property. Generally, wholesaling traditionally has been most common with older homes, areas where neighborhoods are 60, 70, 80, 100 years old, typically inner city areas. They usually need extensive repairs. Sometimes they need a complete change of floor plan. Sometimes it's just painting and carpet to get it up to speed. More recently, though, fundamentals have been in favor of the high foreclosure market that we've had. Has produced so many foreclosures that foreclosures have been a much more popular target lately for wholesaling and flipping because of the fact that there have been so many of those. And one of the biggest changes we've seen in wholesaling strategy is that instead of the older neighborhoods, it's often possible to wholesale in newer neighborhoods because of the prevalence of lots of foreclosures. A common example of a wholesaling formula, this is the type of formula that a wholesale investor or an investment company would use to determine how much they would pay for a property on a wholesale basis. They would take the after repair value, that would be after all the repairs are completed on the property, what that property would be worth at that point in time when it's fixed up and livable, times 50% minus the cost of those repairs minus their desired profit margin would equal their maximum allowable offer. Rental property is another common strategy, probably the best known of all the strategies out there. It's great for stable, positive cash flow. Tenants with steady income are a key to making this strategy work as well as possible. It's a great passive income opportunity, which means if it's passive income, there are some things that you don't pay on that income, like, for example, Social Security taxes are not charged on passive income. That's a very popular form of income. It allows you to earn money when you sleep, so to speak, or if you do work another job, this can be extra income. And certainly passive income is very important for folks who are approaching retirement. So rental property should be on everybody's radar in terms of how to generate income for the future when you're going to be retiring. It's also one of the easiest to understand strategies, and it's duplicatable in that there's not much difference between owning one property for rental versus owning 10 rental properties. So it's a relatively good strategy for the average person to get your hands around. One of the rules from rental property that hasn't been around for years is called the 1% rule. Used to, it was common to rent a property for 1% of the buy price, which meant that if the property was worth $100,000, it would rent for $1,000 a month. That has not been the rule for so long that most of today's investors don't even know that that rule ever existed. But in fact, years ago, this was considered the classic rental property formula. Today, the fundamentals are supporting this for the first time in years, really since the real estate market crash of the late 1980s, early 90s, and even going back farther than that. The 1% rule was traditional when I was growing up. But again, most people today have never even heard of it. But one of the great things about today's fundamentals is for the first time in many years, it's actually possible to implement the 1% rule again. And that's very important for rental property to ensure that you have positive cash flow. Short sales are a way to force equity into a property that has none. Short sales mean selling the property short, or in effect selling the property for less than is owed on the mortgage. It forces a discounted price, typically on a property that's underwater where the seller owes more than the property is worth. It's typically done only on delinquent properties that are facing foreclosure. Often it's in the bank's best interest economically to short sell the property as opposed to going through and paying for a full-blown foreclosure. It can allow for a property to rent and be a good rental property by creating cash flow where none would otherwise exist. However, patience is required for short sales because they do often drag out for months on end while you try to get an approval from the bank for that short sale. Those folks who are really good at short sales know how to get these things done faster and are much more effective This is an area of strategy that's not that ideal for newbies to the business who don't know a lot about real estate already. But it's a very popular strategy because the fundamentals are supporting short sales because of the high number of delinquent mortgages that we have out there today. Fundamentals and strategies work together. The fundamentals will either support or undermine any given strategy, and the fundamentals change over time, and that means that strategies work better at certain points in time or worse at other times as the fundamentals change. Therefore, smart investors must learn how to adapt when they see the fundamentals of the market changing. And the classic example is what's happened over the last few years. In the 1980s, Robert Allen was probably one of the best-known real estate investors in the United States for his best-selling book, Creating Wealth. In the 1980s, it was a huge bestseller. But in 1996, Mr. Allen went bankrupt because interest rates fell below 8% for the first time in 20 years, and his Creating Wealth strategy was built around the very high double-digit interest rates that we had in the 1980s. By the mid-90s, those interest rates had dropped below 8%, and that strategy stopped working. That eventually forced Mr. Allen into bankruptcy. Wholesalers went bankrupt when the housing prices got too high in the market during 2006 to 2008. That was one of the early signs that there were going to be major problems with the subprime market. What was really happening was a lot of real estate investors who had used subprime loans to buy properties from wholesalers for rental started going into foreclosure because the properties were so expensive they couldn't cash flow. A lot of wholesalers went out of business completely. A lot of hard money lenders lost a lot of money at that point in time because when prices are too high, houses will not cash flow, and therefore they make a very poor real estate investment. Foreclosures used to be rare. Prior to the housing crash in 2008, foreclosures and short sales were almost non-existent compared to the number that we have today. We occasionally bought foreclosures and occasionally saw a short sale back prior to the market crash, but they were nothing like they are today, and in fact short sales were almost non-existent among real estate agents prior to the housing crash in 2008. After that, all the real estate agents had to start taking continuing education courses on dealing with short sales because very few of them even had any experience with that. And the discounted sales that we're seeing today are actually a rare opportunity supported by the present market fundamentals. So even though you're hearing in the media, if you're a home buyer, you're hearing the media tell you that today is not a good time to buy a home because the prices have gone down and might still go down more. The bottom line is that this is a very rare opportunity at this point in time to buy yourself a home to live in at a discounted price that you may never see again in your lifetime once the fundamentals of the present market have changed and we've worked through this heavy inventory of foreclosures. It's going to be several more years to be sure, but at some point in time, this opportunity, this window of opportunity will go away. The fundamentals will change over time. Market fundamentals always change. It's gradually, it's deceptively slow in most cases. I think one of the changes we could see in the near future might be a drastic increase in interest rates. It's common knowledge among experienced professional investors that it's probably just a matter of time before something happens to start forcing interest rates up because of the tremendous issue that we have with the federal budget deficit. Now, this requires adjustments to your investing strategy, and no matter how successful you are at a given point in time, when the fundamentals change, if those changes do not support your successful investing strategy, it's going to create major problems for you down the road. So you need to know what your fundamentals are now and recognize how those fundamentals support your strategy choices. And that helps you when you know those fundamentals and you understand how the interplay of interest rates, the amount of foreclosures, short sale activity, all of these things, You can recognize where the opportunities are and avoid undue risk, so that you actually, one of the most common mistakes real estate investors make is simply making bad strategy choices. One of the more obvious examples of that would be people who buy a property to rent and then find out that that property is in a neighborhood that's way too expensive to cash flow as a rental. Or the exact opposite. They buy a property they intend to sell to an owner-occupant, only to find out after they've bought it that it's actually located in a neighborhood that's predominantly renter-occupied, and there's no owner-occupants that want to live there. So this definitely helps you recognize opportunity and avoid risks that really come in the form of bad mistakes. We are Realty Biz Consulting. Again, I'm the director of Realty Biz Consulting, Donna Robinson. We provide real estate investing education to help you understand how the investing fundamentals and strategies work together so that you can make smarter decisions and take advantage of the right opportunities in your market instead of falling prey to all of the scams and gimmicks that are out there today that are really seeking to take advantage of folks that don't know the proper way to invest in real estate. We're experienced investing pros who are active in the business. We're not just educators or just coaches. We're not running around the country doing nothing but selling coaching programs. We are experienced investors who are active in the business, and we know firsthand how these market fundamentals affect our choice of strategy, and we have to adapt and grow in our business just like what we teach you. We try to help you understand the big picture and help you connect all of the dots you need to succeed as an investor in any type of market. We offer investing opportunities, training, education, and coaching services for real estate investors, both beginners as well as advanced investors. And I'd like to suggest that you join our email list for more great training. We'll notify you about investing opportunities that you might be interested in, and we'll give you the latest news on market developments. If you have special needs that you'd like to discuss, for example, you're an experienced investor that would like to invest in a particular area and you're looking for good opportunities, you can contact me at 888-915-9968, and we'll be glad to discuss your needs. If you need coaching, I'll be glad to talk to you about whether or not you qualify for a coaching program and whether or not that's the ideal situation for you. Here's some contact information for Realty Biz Consulting so that you can find us around the internet in various places. The website is realtybizconsulting.com. On Facebook, go and friend Donna S. Robinson. I'll be glad to accept your friendship request. On Facebook, our page is Realty Biz Consulting. YouTube, Realty Biz Consulting, where we post these videos. Twitter is Donna Consults. Google+, Donna S. Robinson, and LinkedIn, Donna S. Robinson. Thanks for watching. The next video I'm going to release in this series is going to be about the real estate market fundamentals, where we talk about things like interest rates, employment, and how they affect the real estate market. And we're going to talk about how they influence your choice of strategy. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.